Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today, and today I'm going to be going over a potential trade for the Houston Texans, and that is the Houston Texans potentially trading Robert Woods to not to a specific team, but Bleacher Report has listed a couple times that the Houston Texans should trade Robert Woods, and I wouldn't mind it at all for the Texans to let go of Robert Woods. Now, this was brought up in an article of one player each NFL team should consider trading, and as it got to the Houston Texans, the player that was suggested for the Houston Texans, Robert Woods, who played wide receiver for the Texans last year, had 426 receiving yards with one touchdown. Robert Woods got off to a really good start to the season, and was really good for this Texans team to start off the year. In the first game or two, was a really good target for C.J. Stroud. And Stroud, before Tank Dell started to get more playing time, Stroud really loved throwing the ball to him. Trying to pull up his stats for the first couple games. I mean, week one against the Ravens, Robert Woods had 6 receptions, 57 receiving yards. Week 2 against the Colts, Robert Woods had week 2 against the Colts. Robert Woods for the Texans had 6 receptions, 74 receiving yards. So if you look early on, it was Robert Woods and Nico Collins the first couple weeks of the season that C.J. Stroud loved to throw the ball to. Robert Woods was great in the 2023 season. Like I said, he had 423 receiving yards. Got off to a great start in the first couple weeks. Was a target that C.J. loved to throw the ball to. But this is a team that has added some talent at the wide receiver position this offseason. This is a team that have a couple guys going into the season who are going to get more playing time. I feel like if you look at two guys like Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie, those are two guys who, as they are getting older and probably more developed, are going to get more playing time and deserve more playing time than Robert Woods. And then you look at a guy like two guys who are new additions. Look at Stephon Diggs and Ben Skoranek, who Ben Skoranek was a trade for the Texans. I don't see them. Why add him in if that's the 8th wide receiver? If you look at guys who should be on the roster, there are 8 guys right now who should be on the roster week 1. If you were not going to get rid of everybody, you have Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell. You have Noah Brown, John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, Ben Skoranek, and Robert Woods. Those are the 8 guys who I don't like. If you're not going to trade or cut any of those guys, well, of course, one or two of them has to go. But obviously, Tank, Nico, Stephon, Noah Brown. Those 4 guys aren't going anywhere for sure. I think out of the 4 other guys, anybody is potentially getting let go. John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, Ben Skoranek, and Robert Woods. But I think most likely you're going to see 7, either maybe 6, but probably 7 wide receivers week 1. 53-man roster for this Texans team. So if one of these guys has to go, you could mention Ben Skoranek, but at the same time, you just traded for him, and I feel like he shows. I feel like he brings in some good things. Not only is he a good wide receiver, but he's he's really good special teams wise. Then you mentioned like Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie. Those are 2 really young guys who I think are a good future for C.J. Stroud. 2 guys who I feel like have good futures and are going to be good targets for C.J. Stroud in the future. So you don't want to give up on them. And then what's left over, that's Robert Woods. I feel like Robert Woods is the guy that has to go. And I feel like somebody would trade for him. You're not going to get a good draft pick. You might get a 7th or a 6th round pick for Robert Woods, and I think that's fine for the Texans. That's totally fine. If you can get a 6th round pick for Robert Woods, do it. Absolutely do it. And the reason I say is I believe the Houston Texans can trade Robert Woods, because I've seen people say, nobody's going to go get Robert Woods. Nobody's going to trade for him. We traded for Ben Skoranek. We've seen other teams trade either seventh round picks or seventh round pick swaps for, wide receivers who are not as good as Robert Woods. I feel like Robert Woods is a better wide receiver than Ben Skoranek, but I just feel like the Texans are gonna, not keep him on this roster because I feel like, number one, yes, he might be willing to be on this team and be like the, be like the fifth or sixth wide receiver in the depth chart, but I feel like the Texans could potentially get good value for him, either getting a sixth or seventh round pick for him, than rather just keeping him on their bench. But it's just we'll see what the Texans do with Robert Woods, because there's 8 wide receivers on this roster right now who deserve to be on potentially on this week 1 or just say 53-man roster, and one of them's gonna go. One of them's gonna get cut or traded, and the 4 candidates, obviously, like I said, Noah, Stephon, Nico, and Tank aren't going anywhere. So the 4 candidates for one of these guys to go is Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, Robert Woods, or Ben Skoranek. Ben Skoranek was just traded for, so I don't really see that happening. John Mechie is someone that C.J. Stroud loves, not only on the football field but off the football field. And I feel like the Texans, with the value they drafted him at in the second round, really can't and don't want to give him up. So then I think it kind of leads to Xavier Hutchinson or Robert Woods, really, in my opinion, because Xavier Hutchinson, if you look at it, he's a 6th-round pick. He has good future. I think it'd be stupid for the Texans to let him go, but he would be a candidate. And then we have Robert Woods, who has a bad contract and would clear cap space for this organization, and by trading or cutting him. And I feel like he has to be the guy to go, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts, and peace out.